following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, I'm Carl Seidel, host of The People's View. The People's View is a show sponsored by the Nashua Republican City Committee. The committee meets every second Thursday at the Crown Plaza. And if you want to contact us, we have a website, nashuagop.org. And at the end of the show, you'll see some contact phone numbers or email addresses that you may want to send us your comments and recommendations. Thank you for listening in.
Welcome to The People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on The People's View.
Hello, and today we have Mike Reed, who's running in Ward 6 this year. You moved, and
I did.
Now you have a whole new group of people to talk to.
Yep.
So, Mike, what are you looking for if you get elected? What are you going to really focus on when you get up there in Concord?
Well, I'd like to focus on the state budget and making things easier for businesses in the state of New Hampshire.
You want to grow New Hampshire. I think a lot of people do. I think we've been pathetic in what we've attempted as far as a state to make everybody who's looking to start a business more receptive to doing it in New Hampshire. Do you have any particular issue that you'd like to attack when you get up there?
Well, 4 years ago when I served in the legislature, New Hampshire Democrats tried to stop the small business tax breaks. And that didn't go through. When I served, we allowed that to happen, and to help new jobs and startups in the state. New Hampshire is now 5th in the nation in entrepreneurship, but there's more that we can do. I was talking to my friends at Henniker Brewing, and they were telling me that there's still a high business tax threshold. As of 2010, we have the harshest corporate tax burden in the country. We're 50th out of 50 states. We're one of 2 states in the union that limits carry-forwards that net operating losses as a business that can use as a tax break. So
we only started get that loss carry forward too a couple of years ago.
That's
they didn't
correct.
have anything really of any, and the federal government allows you indefinite time to carry your losses forward. I think that's one big attraction. I agree with you there.
And that's something that can help small businesses
Definitely.
grow in this state.
That's where you incur a lot of your losses. You're starting up, you're not making any money, and you know, if you get taxed on all your income without being able to recover the money that you lost the previous year, it's significant. It's significant. You really stifle growth of small businesses.
Right. And that's one of the things that Ron Simino and I, Ron's also running with me in Ward 6, District 33, those are some of the things that we want to address with our constituents. Strengthening state sovereignty, reducing government size in the state, decreasing regulations and taxes that hinder the small businesses, as we discussed, fixing the current state budget. The latest figures that I've heard is we're heading back down towards somewhere to 500 to 600 million in a budget deficit.
Well, yeah, you're right. They just reported what they carried over, and while it's bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. And we also have so many different things, unfunded liabilities that nobody's really taking care of. I think we have to, as our governor candidate, Walt Haverstein, says that you got to look at the whole amount of what the legislator is making the state owe, and that comes from pensions as well as just other fees and stuff that come up.
Well, I think it'll help tremendously to have a governor who has the experience, who's run a business, because running the state is running a business.
Right.
And as you know, it's in our state constitution that the budget has to be balanced. When we took over 4 years ago, when I was in the legislature, we were almost $1 billion in debt.
Right.
And I read that just this morning that Governor Hassan has asked state agencies to cut the budget by some $30 million. And of course, as you know, her original budget originally contained casino revenue, which doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, casinos weren't legal, number one. Number two, even if they were, it wouldn't come out in a budget year. $80 million, I think it was, that she had put in the budget. And there were other things in there, too. But one of the things that's hidden is the way we borrow money. And that's also now inching up to, well, sort of the level that you don't want to be at. At 10%, you start getting the lending agencies will cut your credit rating. And that's what we're on the verge of if we don't watch it.
And then, of course, with that comes, you know, a call for possible state income tax. And I don't ever want to see that happen in this state.
Or state sales tax, too. And I think we have to watch what we are doing. As you said, there's taxes that inhibit businesses from coming in the state. I don't think people realize as much that if we attract more revenue-generating businesses, then we have a lot of things we can do that they want to do now by borrowing, and that's not the way to run a state.
Well, lowering the corporate business taxes would help companies come into this state. And the nearest estimate right now is that a quarter to a third of the southern half of the state doesn't even work in this state.
Yeah.
And I would love to see those jobs in New Hampshire.
I agree with you. I think that's one of the things we have to emphasize. And again, the person who's experienced to making the environment satisfactory to new businesses is the kind of person we want in that corner office. So what are you doing with your campaign? Have anything special that you're doing?
I'm going to be going door to door, and I'm going to be talking to the voters. We want to be accountable to the voters. We want transparency. I want to discuss with them what their issues are, what's important on their minds.
Well, we only have a few more weeks to go before the election, and you and Ron are really going around together as sort of a team that you're going to be working together?
Exactly.
Do you, is there any other things that you'll be doing besides knocking on doors, or you'll have your advertisements and stuff like that? I mean, your handouts.
Yes, we're going to be handing out literature as well and doing a mailing.
Well, you've had experience. What committee did you serve on when you were elected in 2010?
I served on the Transportation Committee.
Transportation Committee. So that's one we have real problems with, getting the funds to do the roads and the bridges and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And I think that you'll have, you know, if you get back on that committee, you'll have a lot of things to work on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the people that you also are in a district that I think has lost some of the Democratic opponents. That David Campbell was one of the people that was in that district.
That's correct.
So maybe you have a better chance of getting in this because they had been in there for quite a while.
Well, I'd like to think that voters' minds are a little more open as they were 4 years ago. I think the voter is tired of the empty promises. You can't keep your own doctor. We're not containing Ebola. The border isn't secure. I'm hoping that the average voter, their eyes are open to this. They're seeing the lies at the federal level as well as the state level with the budget And more and more you're seeing New Hampshire Democrats are ducking debates and they're throwing attack ads out. And that's really their only answer, because they can't support the federal agenda that's going on in their party.
Well, I think I noticed that too, that there's a wealth of negative ads out there. And to me, that tells me that if you don't have ideas, you go negative. I don't think they want to change much. They just want to keep on going. And so I think a business hand, and you're a businessman too, you know how to run, you know, look at the balance sheet and stuff like that. And one of the things that we want to do, besides the taxes and everything, is the regulations. And the regulations can really inhibit companies from growing, regulations that you don't need. You want to have the agencies up there that do the regulations, that make the regulations, to be a little bit more transparent and more receptive to working with their the people in the businesses, instead of just looking to see whether you can collect some fees because they did something wrong. You want to make sure they know how to do things right.
We have to untie the hands of businesses in this state, lessen the regulations, make it more business friendly to bring more jobs into the state.
And do you think that we should be doing anything with the Economic Development Department up there? I mean, should they be a little bit more active or do something more proactive, I guess is what you want?
We should be actively seeking out businesses to come to the state.
I think the state agencies also have to work with the local groups like the Chambers of Commerce or well, Nashua has a economic development group too, and they ought to work together rather than working separately, I think.
I agree.
And that's what some of the other states that have done a big job in increasing the businesses in their state, like North Carolina or Texas. They got their big cities working together, and you all win. You know, if you get one big firm, well, let's take BAE here in Nashua. If you get them to bring have some of their suppliers come to New Hampshire, then the suppliers have suppliers, and that sort of snowballs. So then you and Ron are pushing those two things, and you want to make sure the budget is balanced. So I think, well, you were there in 2010 when we really had a terrible time. As you said, we had a big amount to cover that was carried over, a negative amount, and we knocked off almost 10% on the budget. And, you know, I think there we got what we wanted. We got a budget we could live with. Nobody, you know, we didn't get everything we wanted, but we looked and we prioritized, which is what a business has to do. And the priority of that we set up, I think, was a reasonable one. I think there's other things that they're doing now, for example, for mental health, that was necessary. But, you know, we increased the budget in 2011 or 2012 and 13 to cover a lot of those things.
Well, I know we received a lot of grief over the budget in 2010, but it's really a matter of what we were left with. I believe there was 74 taxes or fees that were increased.
At least that much. I mean,
over
some
the
people
4
said there were
previous
100,
years before then. And we were left with a mess, and we had to clean it up. And there was this whole Tea Party label over how we handled the budget and that we made rash decisions. We made hard decisions, but we balanced the budget. Yeah,
and we lived within our means. I mean, our income was right on to the budget forecast for the 2-year biennial. And I think we might even, in the next year, if we get more people moving in here and more houses exchanging, that tax would increase. That might give us a little bit of excess to do some of the things that we couldn't do because we did live within the income forecast.
Fiscal responsibility, personal accountability and responsibility is important. And I know that every person out there who lives within their means, making sure that they, cross all those T's and dot their I's on their checking account every month. People are living week to week, month to month now, and the state is no different. We have to operate the same way. We're accountable to everyone out there, the voters, to make sure that we're following and spending their money wisely.
Yeah, any sort of extra fees and taxes sort of hit the lower income people much harder than the higher income people. I think people have to realize that. You can't just willy-nilly add little things like they did several years ago, where they increased the registration fee for your automobile. That hit most people who couldn't really afford it. And I think you have to look at things like that. Have you any other areas that you think you need to emphasize?
Well, we want to make sure that, and by we I mean myself and Ron, we want to make sure that every bill that we vote for, that there are no anti-liberty bills. Again, going back to personal accountability and responsibility and keeping the government out of your business. Voting to put people first.
And you're looking at unintended consequences, too, in some of these bills. I think sometimes we rush these things through. Well, on the federal level, Obamacare is one of the things that we've rushed through. We still don't know all the negatives that are going to come out on that. We're still not sure about what the federal government's going to do to back up the people that we added to the Medicaid program in the state, because we pay half of the bill for that. We got to be sure that the federal government backs up what they claimed that they were going to do when we added the extra people. Have you any experience in that area?
Well, we had some votes in the last legislature that stopped some of that, and I won't vote for any unfunded federal mandates. In fact, we voted to stop Reggie in this state, but unfortunately it didn't get past the Senate. And I think that was a great step forward, because we could have been the first state to do so. And I believe another state has done so since.
Okay, well, you have to watch out for some of those things. Again, at transparency, you have to understand what we're getting ourselves into, what we're committing ourselves. And that is not usually done very well in Concord as well as Washington.
There was a lot of hidden fees and taxes in Obamacare. In fact, Obamacare affected me personally.
Really?
I lost my health insurance, and when I went to go keep the same plan, I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep my doctor, I couldn't keep my health insurance, I couldn't keep the hospital.
Really?
Because this state only certified, I believe, half of the hospitals for Obamacare.
Right.
So.
Well, that's the way they get the fees lower. Well, good luck in your campaign in new district. I hope you and Ron are successful, and we'll have you back after the election.
I can't wait.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Carl.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.